Therapists of Reddit, what was your biggest, I know I'm not supposed to judge you, but holy shit, moment? If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. Okay, real therapist here, I got one. Some of my clients are shockingly bad at giving themselves credit. Holy shit, like, they might get a nearly straight A GPA in a brutal major, while battling depression. Or overcome years of phobia and get behind the wheel again. Or write a little novel. Or raise a kid as a single parent with low income. Or build new relationships after being burned. Or cope with OCD well enough to hold down a job. And they'll talk about themselves as if everyone on earth is better than them. As if their accomplishments are worthless. And I know it's because of depression or anxiety, or another condition. But I'm often stunned by how differently I see them, compared to how they see themselves. This needs more attention. I came here for juicy stories, and ended up with an empathy punch to the gut. Wednesday on Reddit. I work in mental health, and have worked in acute and crisis settings for the majority of my career. The most notable event I experienced was when a young person had presented with significant ongoing suicidal ideation, who was dealing with a lot of shit. I spent a lot of time with them, mostly de-escalation, and working out what the plan should be moving forward. One of their parents came in a little while later, and I had the opportunity to speak to them about where their child was, and what had been going on, with their consent of course. Midway through me trying to explain some of the psychological constructs and ways the parent could help, they said to me, "Is this going to take much longer? I have a show to go and watch." All I can say is, I never judge my patients. I have never walked their path or viewed the world through their eyes, but the people around them, who perpetuate the suffering of the people I work with, through ignorance, malice and selfishness, I judge them. I'd like to ask one thing of anyone who reads this. Remember that you can help, even just by asking how someone is or wishing them well. People who you think may be struggling, and even people who aren't. This year has been hard on us all, and I appreciate all of you who have said that those in care services have difficult jobs, but we have all struggled this year. Some people just shouldn't have kids. When I was underage, I got caught with a drink on Bourbon Street, and got a minor in possession. I was telling my therapist about it, and said that the police caught me with a hand grenade in New Orleans. He didn't realize that a hand grenade was a type of drink, and it was funny to watch him try to process that his patient might have just casually told him that he had been caught with a fragmentation grenade. He took a big long pause, and said, "Where did you even find a grenade?" I realized the misunderstanding quickly, and corrected him. But for a moment, he definitely was thinking, holy shit, how do I deal with this? Therapist here. To piggyback on what others have said, it is highly unlikely for me to have moments where I judge my clients. It happens sometimes, but I'm able to shut down those thoughts quickly in my head, and return to being present for the people I see. People are so incredibly complex that my judgment wouldn't have any meaning anyway, and it doesn't have a place in our work together. I will admit though, something that does get me feeling a little salty is when I have a client's parent that attempts to sabotage the therapeutic relationship I have with their child, or pulling them out of therapy entirely, when some of the things we talk about challenges some potentially unhealthy family dynamics. I don't feel anger toward the parents. Mostly I feel bad for the kid. My god, it's like you're describing my mother. She let me go to therapy, a grand total of 2 times, while I was depressed and suicidal at 17. The second time, the therapist asked her to come in to talk to her about how I was feeling, and she started crying to him about how my feelings made her feel sad, and how much it affected her. I never even cried in my sessions. Then he told her she might like to consider letting me go out with friends more and have a better social life, and then she took me home and told me I manipulated him into saying that to her. As someone who used to work as a behavior management specialist with kiddos, this was always heartbreaking and frustrating. Kids almost always are acting out because of an issue with parenting, and parents are usually never willing to change or accept responsibility. I work with youth and adolescents who have anxiety, trauma, and/or depression. Some of the kids I worked with had some pretty severe attachment issues. Regardless of this, I never thought I'd have to seriously explain. 1. You can't just buy a straitjacket for your kid. 2. Feeding your kid ultra spicy ramen each night, instead of the meal everyone else is eating, isn't specifically defined as abuse, but you have to understand the emotional abuse that this causes. 3. Your kid isn't trying to kill you because they stand in your doorway at night crying. That's likely because they're scared of their traumatic nightmares, but feel like you will just yell at them if they wake you up. Holy shit. Number 3 is a heartbreaking image. I'm gonna go hug my daughter now. I used to have horrible nightmares as a kid, and used to just stand in my parents' doorway, wanting so damn bad to wake them up and be comforted, but knowing full well my dad would be scarier than any nightmare. Clinical psychologist working primarily in forensics here. This means my clients are usually involved in legal proceedings, family court, juvenile court, criminal court, etc. My job is usually to evaluate or provide treatment. I'm not there to judge, that's the judge's job, but of course I have my thoughts. I am usually impressed by the justifications people make for shitty behavior. The one that irks me the most is when parents manipulate their child against the other parent. I've had to do therapy for a 5-year-old who said she doesn't want to see a parent because they haven't paid child support. Excuse me? What 5-year-old knows, understand, or needs to be worried about child support? I feel like a lot of the comments saying that they never judge their clients might be working in voluntary services, or they've been very fortunate in their client base. Judgment isn't an inherently bad thing, it's how we know that murdering people is wrong. So when a convicted pedo client told me, "Nothing gets me going like a pair of little girls' worn panties," you better believe I judged the F out of him. I continued to work with him, and I treated him with compassion and respect, because he is a human being worthy of both. I did my job because I'm a professional, but I can't honestly say that I didn't judge him. I judge that he should never be around children. I judge that he is not yet ready for change. I judge that his access to his own daughter should be closely supervised. That's a lot of judgments. Understanding your own inherent biases and how they influence your work is a very important part of training and practice. Patient side here. I had been seeing a therapist for a few months to help with chronic depression and self-harm, with some pretty intense suicidal ideation. I had tried Suprax in the past, didn't like the side effects, and put it down, but I was ready to try something new to supplement therapy. Everyone within earshot was calling Wellbutrin a miracle and lifesaver, so I figured I'd give it a shot. Since my therapist couldn't prescribe drugs, I got an appointment with a psychiatrist. My first appointment, I explain what I've got going on, what I'm doing to work on it, and what I'm looking for in seeing him. I do a pretty good job holding myself together in public. I dress myself. I hold down jobs. At that point I lived on my own. Now living with my partner. All in all, I've got a well-polished mask. I guess it's too good, because pretty early in our session, he looked at me and said, "I don't think you're depressed. Bro, this is the first time we met. I've been here for 20 minutes, and you're ready to reverse my diagnosis? Cool bro, I sympathize." I went to a new primary care physician and filled out medical history, complete with diagnoses and medication. The nurse took one glance at me and said, "You don't look depressed. I guess people with depression are supposed to carry a box of tissues everywhere and weep at the drop of a hat, and you don't look like a bitch, but here we are."